I felt the need to open it, and I knew I wanted to record a bit of this today. So I figured why not just jump in and stream it instead of recording it. Um, but I got a lot on my mind, and a lot of it is about consideration, I guess you could say. And the reason why I said something about a personal touch is because there's a little bit of venting that I need to do, and I just don't really know how to do it because I don't really know what I'm feeling, if that makes sense. So, part of the stream is going to be focused on the supermod. The other part of the stream is going to be focused on um, the other part of the stream is going to be focused on me trying to dig through and find the right words. So let's jump back in time to 1987. Let's jump back in time to Memphis, Tennessee, where wrestling was real. And let's get things going, up and ready to go for Memphis wrestling and getting this territory back on its running. Because I still say, let me put it this way, I ordered a 5 episode special with this series to try and get this going, to try and get 1987 up and running, because I felt more comfortable heading back to Memphis than I did starting my own company and working from the ground up. So let us try and find a way. Let us try and find a way to get Memphis heated up again and save one of the last territories, one of the last stable places for people to come and work. Because the fact of the matter is, Memphis wrestling is or would become the last surviving territory in all of professional wrestling by the mid 1990s, due to not due to the territory system collapsing. It was due to the lack of talent and wrestling still going through a downturn rather than an uptick like it was in the early 80s. But we are here in Memphis. We got Lawler, we got Austin Idol, we got Steve Kern, we got Tommy Rich, we got Bam Bam Bigelow, we got Bill Dundee, Butch, Luke, Roy Welch, and we got every indication to try and run this territory the way I think the territory could get heated back up again. I do have I do have a backup plan. But for what we need to do, for the way we need to go, and the direction we need to take, I think there is only one way to go, and that is first things first, crowning a new AWA and CWA champion. And in my opinion, this title needs to be taken away. Oh, well, actually, it was merged in 1988. So technically, these titles are still a thing. So technically, this should be the one that's retired. this should be the title that's retired, and the title that I actually retired should be the one that's still here because I'm not ready to have that championship be retired yet. But apparently, there's a title that becomes the main world title. So maybe we will go the route of keeping this belt and just running a 1 day tournament or a 1 night tournament to crown the new CWA and AWA World's Champion. My only question is how do we find the right way to go if you don't know the right way to go? So I think even if we don't go, so I think that the ideal way to do it is that Austin Idol be out of the tournament. That Austin Idol be out of the tournament because he is already the world champion. He is already the AWA Southern Heavyweight Champion. So technically, in my opinion, that should disregard him from the other championship and allow him to focus on just being the AWA Southern Heavyweight Champion. But I do know and I am well aware of the fact that Austin Idol, Bam Bam, Bill Dundee, Lawler, Tommy Rich, and Paul E. Dangerously are the feud in Memphis right now. So we got something to at least strive for. We got something to at least strive for. But also we got the continuity. What I mean by that is we got a starting point, a jumping off point, and the jumping off point for us is building around the pillars, as they like to say, is building around the pillars of this company. That being Lawler, Idol, and Tommy Rich. What happens with Tommy Rich is up in the air, even though I do know Tommy's return saw him turn heel and inhabit a different level here in Memphis. But right now, I'm not sure which direction I want to go, to be honest with you. Right now, I'm not sure which direction I want to go. And this, like I said, 5 episodes. 5 episodes. If I'm liking what I'm doing, if I'm liking the direction I'm going, then we'll keep going. We'll keep on keeping on, and we'll keep going in that general direction. But the fact of the matter is, we need to make 5 episodes. We need to give it a chance. We need to see what happens and move on from there, and focus on what we think is the best way to go. We need to focus on what we think is the best way to go. And for me to do that, mind you, I'm again not 100%. I can hear it in my voice, and the amount of recording I've done today probably hasn't helped. But what do you want me to say? I'm not going to take a day off recording if I'm still able to record because there's not really much else to do outside of recording. But the fact of the matter is, I need to practice doing this to get more comfortable doing this. But you would think that I would practice doing this in the realm of not recording a wrestling video to get more comfortable recording things that are not wrestling videos. Because if you watch the GTA video that I put together, which hopefully people will once the GTA video is actually listed and not in the backlog anymore, that I just want to say I love this angle pack, you know, the 1970 angle pack, because it's similar to the 1983 angle pack. And I much prefer the 1983 angle pack to the 1987 one because it allows for more control. But what I was going to say is that speaking of 1970, I just want to say we will return to the 1970s. We're not done with that database. That was the first one that actually gave us a lot of control and a lot of, you know, direction and gave us our footing here in TEW 2020. We're not done with it yet. I'm just saying it for the right time. But either way, um, either way, we've had a lot going on the last couple of days. Is Lord Humongous in a feud? He should be. No reason why he shouldn't be. $2 personally. See, if you can find the person to build the territory around, to move in that general direction, to light it up and get it going, then you will have it. I will admit that I'm still not perfect because I don't look to see that it says so would not be penalized before I run the show. And that's a mistake that I have made far too many times, and it costs me because it screws up what is supposed to be a good show or what could be a good show and makes the show not as good as it could be because instead of it being a good show, it turns out to be a bad show because of the fact that I don't have the ability to take 5 minutes and just sit there for a second and wait. You know what I mean? I don't have the ability to sit there for a second and wait and just look to make sure everything's set and ready to go. I just rush into putting together the series, putting together the match, putting together the card, and I don't care how it looks, what it says, or what it has to do. The fact of the matter is, all I care about is getting it going and being happy about the result. And when I'm not happy about the result, I don't think about why. 90% of the time, I don't think about why. You know, Kern basically says he's focused on doing what he was not able to do when he was here last, and that is succeed as an individual and not in a tag team. because that's what he wants to do. He wants to be an individual and not a tag team. I mean, I might be booking here like I am in WWE or like I do in WWE, but until they show me that I don't need to, then we got the question of, or then, once they show me I don't need to, then it'll be a little bit better. But until then, I'm going to book like I do in WWE. I mean, the one thing I know about Memphis wrestling is that 90% of the time you had Lance Russell being the one who stood up and did the commentary. I mean, did the interviews. So you got to balance it out, positive and negative for Lawler. But we'll get to the conversation I was debating having, and the reason and one of the reasons why we're doing this stream in the first place, because I felt like streaming and doing it that way was a better way to get what's on my mind out than doing a video because, well, I don't know how long the video would have been if I went that way with the video. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens on that front. But I'm excited. I am excited to be in Memphis and to revisit one of the few 1980s companies that I was able to work well with in the original 1980 database. And I do apologize for my voice because my voice is, or may sound a little bit hoarse. That's only because of, that's only because of, um, that's only because of the fact that I'm getting over. So I think I'm getting. I may be either getting over a cold, have a cold, have gotten past a cold, whatever the case may be. I may have something because obviously you can hear the congestion in my nose. So who really knows what's going on? But what I do know is I feel fine. I am gonna take some stuff later tonight to try and knock this out. But either way, we got to wrap up the first show. Hold that thought.
stuff around?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna move the table over there,
Oh, in
and
the
then
corner?
yeah, and
And
then
move
Warner.
that stuff over here?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. I feel like the table might be better over there.
Alright. I mean, you could fold it up too. No, no, I needed to put shit on. And
Yeah.
remember, you have your shit on it too. You won't have stuff to put your shit on.
Well, I might bring something else from the upstairs, downstairs, but we'll see. One of those conversations and a benefit of actually having the ability to mute up. So, because business is never. I mean, if there's anybody, even back then, or in this period, that I like, I've always been a fan of Paulie Dangerously. So being able to work with a young Paul Heyman, getting the ability to work with a young Paul Heyman is like, you know, freaking surreal. 21-year-old Paul Heyman, before he was a pro at the microphone, you know, then we're bringing him forward. It's it's crazy. So we would not be penalized. Let's maybe set up a pre-show match. We're still we're getting ourselves set up here in Memphis. We also got to figure out the tag team title picture because it's a bit of a mess now. But you know, we got time. 5 episodes. This doesn't count. I wouldn't. I'm 50-50 if this should count as an episode. I mean, we also could have put all the basically, half the enhancement talent on the show, but either way, not a terrible match. Rocky did it exactly how I expected. I think Chick Donovan will be one of the first that I actually walk, walk away. Just, just being the fact that I'm not really the biggest fan of Mr. Donovan. Never really been the biggest fan of Randy Hells either, so Randy Hells may be next out the door. But that's just me. Okay, everybody else can be a road agent. That's fine. I thought I looked that up already, but I guess not. They got Frank and Jerry Calhoun, so you got the referees all set. Lawler putting out solid numbers, solid beatdown. I know I should have had him rated on menacing. Not everybody can be Lawler. That's what I expected. The Rockers beat the Rising Suns. I mean, I'm going back and forth on learning who should be rated on what. Son of a bitch. I guess I should make sure that Randy Hills is not the agent behind anything else to avoid him messing with the ratings of anything else on the card. I mean, also, if Billy Joe Travis can't be helped during a tag team match, then why even bother having him? Because a tag team match is supposed to help keep people energized because it's, you have a partner. But, Billy Joe Travis is not really opening up the door for me. I totally forgot about the fact that I was supposed to make another storyline. Totally forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. I was just so focused on doing the tournament that didn't even end that I totally forgot about the fact that I was supposed to make another angle throughout the for because that's basically the ruling to make another angle. I mean, I could turn it off and not have it where I have to worry about it, but making sure that I have two angles above 35 rating or heat, it's not really that hard. You know what I mean? It's not really the hardest thing in the world to do. I mean, the reason why I picked Memphis instead of one of the bigger companies is because I think I've said this in the past that the bigger companies, in my opinion, are just a bit overwhelming. Because I mean, just look at it. You got wrestling, 4 episodes of Wrestling Challenge, plus primetime wrestling, and 4 episodes of that, plus a live event tour from WWF. Then you got 2 tapings of NWA Pro, a taping of Worldwide. Instead of just one TV show. Oh, and Wild West. Well, actually, that's Texas, but I also think that's them taping through the month and not anything specific. But we're done with house shows. We had that one house show, and now we got TV to worry about. The one thing that I need to remember is for TV, we need another set. We need another feud. We need something else. We need something else to sink our teeth into, to get excited, or whatever the case is. Just because that's what's expected. That's what's expected. You know what I mean? Uh, Glow had a pay per view. Central Stage Tag Team Championships. The best part is when a place like Memphis, I mean, a place like Florida goes under. Well, actually, Florida's already under, so there's that. But when if the AWA went under, if the AWA went under, then I would have the opportunity to swoop in and take over some of the talent from the AWA because I'm going to be filtering in and filtering out talent from Memphis as we go. As we go. The UWF, a lot of these are already going bankrupt, but WWE can't swoop in and take everybody, and Crockett Promotions can't swoop in and take everybody. There are people that I'm sure I'm going to have the opportunity to be able to swoop in and take, but I just got to make sure for my sake and the stability of my promotion that I do the little things to make sure that I'm not making a stupid mistake like I did booking the last episode of SmackDown that I booked in the Ruthless Aggression era and WWE in the other database. So I'm giving it a chance because the amount of detail that was put into this super mod, there's a reason why we call it the super mod, or why it's called the super mod. There's way too much detail to not pay attention to it. And I sure as hell did not get anything close to these types of numbers when I was Crockett Promotions But also, I just want to point out Ronnie Garvin attacks Barry Windham, and then teams with Barry Windham to successfully defend the United States Tag Team titles against the Midnight Express. I very confused. I really don't understand that. I really don't understand that, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I really don't understand that, to be honest with you. See, the reason why I don't like this tandem is because the Goliath is a babyface, while Big Bubba is a heel. So I don't like those associations where it's heel face in a tag team and not face face. And also, Big Bubba and the the Goliath are not a tag team. So the fact that they're holding the belts but not actually the champions, that's kind of annoying too, to be honest with you. And hell, Mr. Saito, or Mr. Shima, sorry, Mr. Shima and uh Tarzan Goto. Mr. Shima and Tarzan Goto are not a tag team either. So both tag team titles are held by teams that are not actual tag teams. You know what I mean? So it's just a little weird, in my opinion, that that's the case. I mean, the one positive thing I guess you could say is that having a heel face tag team as the champions allows for the dynamic to be playing a part in where one wants to cheat, the other doesn't, or something like that. But also, it should open the door for you to be able to have heels and faces equally challenge them for the tag belts because there's not, oh, it's heel or face. You know, there's equal numbers. You know what I mean? Like it's an equal balance or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm getting these numbers in WWE, but I wish I would have gotten them in Crockett. To be honest with you, I wish I would have. But the backstage rating ate me alive, and I ended up running away. That's pretty much what happened. Also, what I would say is the other reason is that I had the issue of not looking at the dirt sheets to know the proper length of time where certain things were supposed to go or that certain segments were supposed to go to maximize the potential rating. I was booking like I would in TW16, not realizing that certain things had changed between 16 and 20. You know what I mean? So it's been a learning. It's been a bit of a it's been a bit of a learning experience. I do gotta say, it has been a bit of a learning experience. You know what I mean? Good, bad, or indifferent. It's been a bit of a learning experience. I also want to point out that I kind of want to have this conversation before I forget to have this conversation or decide not to have this conversation. And the fact of the matter is, so we're booking an A show. Yeah, we're booking the studio show tonight too. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. I I've just been feeling some sort of way today. I've been feeling some sort of way today, and it's it's just been how do I put it? I feel like there's a I feel like there's just like a lot of people that weren't around for the event that are now here for the actual show, and there are people that were around for the event that aren't here for the actual show. But also, I would point out Mr. Welch was a Mr. Welch was somebody that was a little bit more elevated up the card on the day of the event, and either because more of the roster was here now, or more of the rosters here now than they were at the event, he's a little bit lower down the card. Or maybe it's just something. I don't know. I don't really know the semantics of it, but what I do know is I am very close to using the bathroom. Like walking away for a sec to use the bathroom. Um, Big Bubba and the Goliath will defend the tag titles on the studio show this week. You know, I am going to step away for just a minute and I will be back. I just got to use the bathroom. So I will be back and I will finally have the conversation that was part of the reason why I did the stream in the first place when I do return. So just give me a sec. I'll be back. Don't go anywhere. sorry about that. You know, the one saying that I've heard a lot as people start, helping or started to help is the idea of the more you think that something bad is going to happen, the more likely something bad will happen. Because if you manifest something bad happening, like manifesting things is legitimate. Manifesting something is very real and something that people don't give enough credit to. And it's just something that people don't pay enough attention to a degree. And my point is that I have a bad habit of once I go down the rabbit hole, it is very hard to come out of the rabbit hole and fall in a different direction. And the fact of the matter is, the rabbit hole that I'm in,
Dear Holiday.
the rabbit hole that I'm in, it is very hard to get out of and move on from because it it's easier to stay in that funk. It is easier to stay in that rabbit hole. It is easier to stay in that, dark place than it is to come out of it sometimes because you just don't want to because it's so much easier, it is so much more convenient, it is so much better to stay away from the light rather than go towards it. You know, but honestly, coming home from work last night, something just like changed. Like even it wasn't even like um it wasn't even like coming home from work. It was just being at work last night. Like near the end of the shift, something started changing, and I started noticing as I was coming home that maybe my attitude, like I was softening up a bit, and maybe my attitude was changing a bit. But that opinion, that idea, it's just a little bit different in my opinion because you just got to know when how to separate it. You got to know what direction you want to go and just go that way. Because the one thing I haven't cared about for the better part of a year is my job. Because the one job I wanted is the job that I haven't been able to get because it is not easy to get. It is not easy to find stability in content creation. And it is not as easy as a lot of people wishes it could be because if it was that easy, then everyone would do it. And I know how that sounds. I know that's a cop out. And I know that's something that everyone says because everyone says, "Oh, if it was that easy, then everybody would do it." Blah 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 blah. It's not a cop out. It really isn't a cop out because the fact of the matter is, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. You know what I mean? If it was that easy, then everyone would do it. And the fact of the matter is that it isn't that easy. And that's why everybody stops doing it. Because if it was that easy, then everybody would still do it and keep doing it and not stop doing it. But people think it's just hitting the live button, starting a stream, hitting the record button, and going and doing it. And it's not. That's what people don't understand. And that's why a lot of people stop doing it because they don't see the benefit of putting in the time, going on the grind, and building something and trying to get to that point where you can say a little cold hard cash came from a hard day's work and it wasn't working a 9 to 5 at a retail job where you are dealing with a bunch of ungrateful idiot managers that don't know a horseshoe from a hand grenade and would not be able to tell you the actual benefits to the practices that are in place in the store, all other than saying a piece of paper told me to says that this is how we have to do it because that's what corporate is putting in place. And somebody that actually knows what they're talking about and knows what they're doing, which in the workforce is very hard to find nowadays because most people don't give two shits about what goes on if it means they're going to get paid either way. And that's a fact. Paulie's off somewhere. Click the wrong button. Paulie's working the AWA. The Moondogs are unavailable as a tag team. I got Jobber working for Jim Crockett Promotions. Mr. Hilo's working for All Japan, and Bill Dundee is working for Crockett Promotions. So I got a bit of the roster everywhere. I got a bit of the roster everywhere. I got a bit of the roster spread out all over the place. Someone is on the level of the precious king. And, I'm not going to sit here and say that the people I worked with were not the sharpest tools in the shed, not the greatest people, whatever you want to say. Whatever you want to say. What I'm going to say is a lot of the people that I worked with were people that I wanted to not like. Because the one thing for probably the better part of the last 6 months that I've been thinking about doing is walking away from my job. Oliver Humperdinck is here in Memphis and ready to get things going. I'm not saying that, and I would dispute the idea that the people that I work with were stupid. I'm not going to insult the people I work with because that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to say that the people I work with are stupid. All I'm trying to say is that I wanted to keep that distance. I wanted to keep them at arm's length. I wanted to keep them away to make it easier for when I left because it allowed me to have a legitimate excuse as to why I didn't want to associate with them. And the main reason why I didn't want to associate with them is because I didn't necessarily think that the people that I was working with were worth my time. And I'm not saying that from the standpoint of somebody that, I'm not saying that from the standpoint of somebody that thinks, oh, I'm high and mighty, I'm great, I'm the best, blah, 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 blah. No. I'm saying that from the standpoint of somebody that didn't want to get comfortable, that didn't want to get attached. That's what I'm saying that from the standpoint. So Lawler's picking a fight with everybody. You know, anybody and everybody that Lawler can pick a fight with, he's picking a fight with. I know I'm trying, I know I'm making it a little harder because I'm jumping between, and, I'm jumping between talking about one thing and talking about another. So let me just take a second and pull a Paul Heyman and shoot from the hip and be honest. The fact of the matter is, the only reason why I had the attitude at work, well, part of the reason why I had the attitude at work that I had is because I just enjoy being the lighthearted one that isn't afraid to have a little fun, especially at my own expense, or even at my own expense, if it means getting a laugh. But a few things have registered with me of perception wise, and one of them is a question, I guess you could say a bit of questionable decision making. A bit of questionable decision making, and the bit of questionable decision making that there is the idea of I've had the opportunity to ask for more hours, to get more hours, to work more often, to get more money, and every step of the way, it's always been no, 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 no. I'm not interested because you're putting over how bad it is there. When in reality, is it that it's that bad, or are you just trying to keep your distance from the people you're working with to avoid having the ability to sit there and say that it's not that bad, and there's a bit of a reason to stay. And I also totally freaking forgot to set up another angle to get another thing going for the show because I need one more angle to get going to have that not be a problem anymore. And I understand that my voice is going to be a little noticeable as maybe something that shouldn't be me pushing, me pushing my voice and recording, and maybe I should be saving my voice and not recording. But the fact of the matter is, oh well, I'm recording. No, the fact of the matter is, oh well, I'm recording because that's just how it is. Um, but a lot of it was keeping my distance and not wanting to get close, and the fact that I have, and it would be unrealistic to say that I haven't gotten close to some people working there because you've been at a job for a year and you haven't made any friends. That's kind of depressing, is it not? Like that idea is, wouldn't that be considered a little depressing at least? Am I off that basis? Is that basis a little off? To say that, oh well, it's not depressing at all. It happens. It's like no, no, it's a little depressing. It's a little depressing. I do, I do like how my voice sounds because my voice sounds like my voice kind of sounds like Peter's voice in that episode of Family Guy where he's sick. And you know, there's that. Oh, that's what I wanted to check. I know, but I'm pretty sure Big Bubba does have a manager, but I'm not sure if the Goliath does. But what's his name? Harvey Whippleman. Well, actually, let's drop about half the people that are occasional wrestlers because people should not be active wrestlers and occasional wrestlers. They should just be active wrestlers. And I'm actually not going to waste my time going through this and just editing out, for semantic purposes. I'm just going to let it be, to be honest. I do feel like to a degree I probably could have did this on Twitch and gotten a better reaction. But at the same time, there's nothing that says I'm not going to. So Eddie Marlin is the commissioner, and basically I made the case to say that Eddie Marlin made the decree that if Big Bubba and Goliath, as the champions, cannot cooperate with each other, then neither one of them will remain in Memphis because they need to cooperate with each other as they are the tag team champions and they need to act like tag team champions and cooperate. But let me tell you a bit of a story. Let me tell you a bit of a story. Um, Last year around this point, or 2 years ago around this point, because it was 2020. Was it 20? Well, let's actually rephrase things. Last year, because I didn't actually start thinking about doing it or leading towards doing it until last year. Um, like seriously think about doing it until last year. Like early last year was when I was thinking about moving to North Carolina and just reinventing the wheel, I guess you could say. And, lo and behold, long story short, even after going through the entire process of looking and talking to a real estate agent and getting that close to moving, and where I actually thought we were going to, and I was putting stuff in place to take care of stuff to make sure things would be taken care of while I was dealing with the move, it didn't pan out because of COVID. It didn't pan out because of COVID. So we went in a different direction. And the different direction we went was the different direction we went was um, well, being unemployed for 7 months. I would love to know how I cut myself yesterday, but that's beside the point. Critics. could be wrong, but I think Rocky just did Rocky not just come into Memphis not too long ago? Yeah, because it would have said like has spent 3 years, so he spent under a year in Memphis, so he must have just got here. So Rocky Johnson's new. You know, Rocky's new here. What can I say? Um, but but around a year ago, I I got a job working again, getting back in the workforce after being unemployed for a few months, and you know the how do you put it? I got a job working again, getting back in the adjustment to working, the adjustment to working was a bit of, a bit of a process. The adjustment to working was a bit of a process, getting back into the workforce after being unemployed and basically spent, when I was unemployed, a lot of my day was spent playing Minecraft. A lot of my day was spent playing Minecraft. And, it was just Minecraft. That's it, nothing else. So Tommy Rich is taking a bit of an exception to the fact that Lawler is focusing on both Tommy Rich and Lord Humongous by the fact that Lord Humongous actually jumped Lawler at the first house show event. Excuse me. That Lawler got jumped by by Lord Humongous at the first live event. So Tommy Rich is basically taking exception to the fact that Lawler is not focused on just Tommy Rich and the tournament to crown the vacated AWA CZ. Well, it would be easier just to say the vacated international heavyweight champion. And I mean, I don't want to say that we're making it seem like Lawler's downplaying things or whatever the case may be, but Lawler is definitely not taking it as serious as he probably should. And of course, this stupid freaking segment, unless the tag team match did better, which hopefully it did, it didn't. And I think I need to move away from the Goliath as a tag team champion. And the fact that they beat Memphis Vice is kind of an insult to the tag team division, in my opinion, or at least to a degree it is. But it just shows the wide line between the top of the card and the mid card, that there's a big difference, or there's a bit of a difference, in my opinion. But to bring everything full circle, to bring everything full circle, and to explain, because I'm getting caught up on other things. Basically, I I actually said to my manager one night, if one person said, if you need me, call me. And I said, if you need me, don't call me. As a joke. But it was, also sort of serious. Because the one thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to have to deal with the nonsense that was attributed to certain aspect, or that's attributed to, you know, working during the specified time that we were working, because of the fact that there was added shit having to do with that aspect of things, and I didn't want to do it. So I just said, fuck it, I'm not doing it. But my point is, I guess my point is, to relate it to this, it's that, it's sort of like finding your footing in TEW. You got to find what works for you and the direction you want to go with the talent you want to use, because that's the right way for you to go and the right thing for you to do. It's finding your stability. It's finding your way of doing things. And I did that with WWE, and I'm ecstatic that I was able to do it, because I found some stability, and the $20 that I spent on this game was not worthless, because of the fact that I was able to find some stability within the game. It's just the fact that I know that this database is a worthwhile database, and or a good database, and I would love to find some stability in this database, and not just have the stability in 2004. But it's like I was saying earlier, as I lost some track, or as I lost track, and I lost track because I got distracted talking about other things, and, multitasking. I had no interest in developing relationships, finding that footing, letting people get to know me better, you know, expanding my repertoire as far as what I know how to do, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because I was just happy doing what I knew, doing what I was doing. But the fact of the matter is, thinking about the big picture, that even if I did want to leave and find a new job, even if I did want to leave and find a new job, it's the question of, what do you put on your resume that you've been doing for the last year, when you know what you do at your job? You know what you mean? You know what I mean? Because putting what I do at my job would make me seem like I'm capable to do maintenance, and I have absolutely no interest in doing that aspect. Not to say that I'm too good to do it, it's that I have no interest in doing it, because I have a love hate relationship with it, and I have no interest in that aspect of the business on a grander scale. But I had every ability, every ability to, oh, so the roster's this big because of people that I have on loan. Okay, that makes sense. I have I have every ability to sit there and um, make the job what I want the job to be. And right now, the job that I want it to be is a job. That's it. Simple as that. Simple as that. I don't want more. They don't need me for more. But if I asked for more, I could probably get more. So why don't I ask for more? Because I'd rather be home doing this than they're doing that. It's that simple. I made the choice to do for myself rather than to do for the job because for the better part of 3 years, I made that choice to do for the job when I was working my previous job, and that was a mistake. That was a mistake because I gained nothing but a crap ton of stress, frustration, anxiety, and just a lack of interest in wanting to be in that place anymore. And not saying that my current job is the same type of environment, it's just because of that previous experience, it made any desire of, I don't want to say investment in a job, something that I was very, 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 very much against because of the fact that I just didn't really care to invest or to worry or to think that it was something that I needed to focus on or fixate about because it just wasn't worth it, to be honest with you. It just wasn't worth it, to be honest with you. Oh, so they are supposed to be a tag team, they're just inactive. That doesn't change things. They're still going to get broken up and they're still going to go their separate ways because Big Bubba, I think, has a legitimate opportunity to be a top star here or a star here outside of the tag team division. But we need to get him away from the Goliath because the Goliath, he needs seasoning that I can't give him. Basically, think about this story. Think about this story. This story is that we're sitting around, we're just hanging out, loving each other's company, and just, somebody looks at me and thanks me for helping him tonight, even though that's kind of part of my job. And, it's just like the little things, and just noticing. I mean, maybe it's the holiday spirit, whatever the case is. It's just like the feeling in the air changed. You know what I mean? And it's just the idea of maybe it's worth investing in the job. You know what I mean? Maybe it's worth it. Maybe there's something to gain from doing it outside of being able to add things to your resume. But if you're anticipating sticking with this job a little bit longer and not going anywhere else, then what's the point of not saying, especially if you're only going to be working 1 day a week for an extended period of time, what's the point of not saying, maybe can I get in there and do a little bit more if they need me to, and just put that role in place, like on days where we don't have a lot of trucks, maybe I can get in there and do a little bit more. But it's just the idea that I have all these other activities, projects, and ideas that I want to do in my own time that I'd rather have the freedom to do on my own and not have to worry about working. But it's just the idea of, you know, how much of your time is going to be occupied by those projects. You know what I mean? especially if you put that role in place of, if you, especially if you put that rule in place, rather, that rule in place of on weeks where I'm not expected to be working a lot, if you have time, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Because right now I have a reputation and it's not a good one. Well, it's not a bad one because it's not like I'm hated or think I'm not capable. It's that they know that I don't ask for more, that I'm happy with what I've had. And I'm not saying I'm not. It's just a question of maybe it's not as bad as I make it out to be. And maybe it's better, like, maybe keeping my distance is not something I need to keep doing if I'm anticipating sticking around because then my reputation will change and it will change for the worse, not for the better. You know what I mean? I wonder who's the babyface in this situation. Because I can't see either one of them being the babyface unless Luger's a babyface in Florida and a heel in Crockett Promotions, which again, I don't see, but let's find out. I'm curious. Because I'm pretty sure Luger's on loan, is he not? So does that mean the Warlord is? Or the Barbarian is? The Dingo Warrior's here, though. Yeah, Barb's the babyface. All right. All right. Hey, whatever. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of interested in bringing him in, but that's beside the point. I'm kind of interested in bringing him in. Maybe I should look in Florida and see if there's anybody worth bringing in. Um, Ron Simmons is definitely somebody I should consider. Scott Hall, another person I should probably consider. Young Scott Hall. Scott Steiner, definitely somebody I should consider. Oh, he's working developmental. So he's working in the developmental in CWF. Terry Gordy would be a perfect person. I love Terry Gordy. I do. I also love the Funks, but the Funk, Terry Funk, I mean, Dory Funk is a little bit more of a nationally known star, and I'm still working with territory stars, regional stars. So it's a little bit like, meh, you know what I mean? It's a little meh. Excuse me. We also got Buddy Landell, of course, but Buddy is apparently working developmental now. So apparently, I would say Crockett has been jacking people, bringing them in working developmental or bringing them into work developmental. I don't blame him. I would do the same thing, but I don't necessarily like it because it's a lot of the people that I've been eyeing up, or I'd be eyeing up to come in and work for me. You know what I mean? I don't want to go too far into it because, it's kind of, I mean, meh. I need another feud. That's the problem. I need another feud. That's the problem. Um, Basically, what I'm saying is I think anybody who's anybody would tell me that how long have they been, how long has, that stuff been on the table since I started working there? Now, don't get it twisted. There are things that I could do that I have no interest in doing because I've been told not to do them because it's not worth it. but it's just the idea of, because nobody knows that. Nobody knows that because it's something that I really haven't spoken about. Because I know that if it's something that I did speak about, then about 90% of people would say, why are you doing that? And, the fact of the matter is, I just felt like I didn't need to justify it to anybody but myself. And if I could justify it to myself, then that was good enough. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. Because it's like justifying it to myself was all I needed to do. And if I could do that, then that was enough. You know what I mean? And I had no problem doing that. So, you know what I mean? I had no problem having the ability to justify it to myself. And because I had no problem having the ability to justify it to myself, it basically led to the idea of, it's actually not a bad name for a stable, to be honest with you. It led to the idea of, well, if I don't have to justify it to myself because I understand why I'm doing it, then I don't need to look for approval from other people's opinions on the matter because but don't you love how successful the show is for Florida, and they're still like this, they're still going the opposite way, but they're also owned by Crockett Promotions, which actually is unrealistic to a point. I think I mentioned this in a previous video that technically Crockett should own UWF and Florida, and that the company should technically not be active anymore. But I think that the reason why they are is because of the fact that they know that if Crockett had that talent too, Crockett's roster, which is 180 people, 180 people are on Crockett's roster right now, right? So basically, the point in that is that if 180 people are on the roster, and that's not counting the people in Florida and in the UWF, and then in the UWF, then basically what you need to look at is the fact that if one and the other is the case, then what does that mean? Well, that means that if Crockett had Florida and the UWF's roster, the Freebirds, Eddie Gilbert, Steve Williams, Rick Steiner, Sting, yada, 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 they'd be in excess of 200 people on their roster. And yes, a lot of the reason why they're so high up, as far as in excess of talent, is because of the fact that the guy was so detailed that made the rosters with the enhancement talent, that the enhancement talent is accounted for as well. And that's one of the reasons why the roster is so crazy full. So the question would need to be, well, which way do you want to go? Realistic or real? How realistic is too realistic? I guess is like how what would you be able to handle a roster of over 200 people? You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's actually what a WCW roster would have been at a time, give or take 200 people. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but how much of an exaggeration would it be, to be honest with you? I am leaning toward picking up somebody from here because CCW is in debt. But the fact of the matter is, nobody really jumps out right now, and it might just be because I am still so early in this database that you don't really have footing with Memphis yet to know who you want to bring in. Because I mean, it took me at least I think like 2 months to bring in people in WWE. So maybe it's just going to take some time. But my point is, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, it is sort of just like I didn't want to work more because I didn't want to make it harder on myself to want to leave. Because I didn't want to get comfortable there. To not want to leave and to move on somewhere else. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, or fortunately, because I guess getting comfortable at your job is kind of a good thing, that I did end up getting comfortable. So now what I was trying to avoid happened anyway. So it's sort of like, it's sort of like what is really the bad thing about sticking around. Like, I had every intention to stick around. Every intention to stick around. And I, I had every intention to stick around. So it's like if you have no intention to go find a new job, if you have no intention of doing XYZ, why not take advantage of it and if they're offering you more hours, take them. If they're offering more hours, take them. I'm not saying work 16 hours a day, 60-hour weeks. I'm saying that if you can do more, why not? I understand, again, I felt like I didn't need to justify it if I understood why I was doing it. I felt like I didn't need to justify it, and I still feel that way. I do. So that aspect hasn't changed. All I'm saying is that if you look at it from point A to point B, then what I'm saying is it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. And you whatever. It makes sense to me, but at the same time, when I'm there, I'm happy. I'm chill, I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable. And it's just like maybe I over exasperated it. Maybe I made mistakes. Maybe I did some things I'm not happy, not proud of. But am I really in a bad position? Am I really at a bad job? Or am I just still holding a grudge from my previous job against this job? You know what I mean? That's that's a legitimate question. It really is. I don't know. And it's just something I needed to vent about and speak about a little bit before I was a little bit out of control when it came to that because my focus is on me and protecting myself to stop myself from getting in a position like I was at my previous job. because it took me 7 months to get out of that mindset that I was in because of my previous job. And I'm not there anymore. And I don't want to go back. And that's the reason why I stopped myself from taking more hours and getting more involved and doing more. It's because I'm skeptical to go back down that road because of what happened last time. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm in the position that I'm in. That's why I do what I do. And that's why I went the direction that I did. You know, I didn't feel like I needed to justify it to anybody else, but now that I'm talking about it, it kind of makes it where I kind of have to justify it and and offer an explanation because it's something that I feel like needs to be explained. And when you explain it, it's kind of understood or understood. Where at the same point, it's just because one situation was a bad situation doesn't mean every situation is of that ilk. And maybe I need to do some serious thinking in the week that I'm off to have a better idea of what to do as 2022 wraps up. Because as you saw, we're done in Memphis for now, but we will be popping up in Memphis again soon because it is a short series and we're going to test the waters to see if that's something that we can further invest in. If it is, great. If not, at least we tried. But either way, do you remember when Memphis was real? When Memphis wrestling was the territory, and just the shock and awe of Tommy Rich returning to Memphis to to do what he did when he returned as the best way to heat up the territory that they did. And to heat up the territory how they did. Memphis wrestling knows a thing. Memphis knows how to keep the territory hot because they knew their fans and they knew what it took to get the most out of that area and to do what needed to be done to keep the business on a high and going as long as it did. Because even though we're in 1987 and clearly things have been scaled back from the height of the era, Memphis would hold on until 1995 to 1996 and I think would finally go down in 1997 or in that general vicinity. So they must have done something right. Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler did to keep Memphis wrestling alive as long as they were able to, because Memphis was the last surviving territory of the territory system. So that is something that is worth noting as to another reason why, or could be considered another reason why, I decided to pick Memphis to dip my toe back into 1987 to see how things went. But either way, I do appreciate everyone who chose to stop in and hang out for a bit, whether you said anything or just lingered for a little while. I do appreciate it. And I also appreciate if you did come in, hang out, and just hear to listen to me vent a little bit about what's been going on and what's on my mind. Hopefully, I can give you guys more of a positive outlook on things the next time I dial up a stream, which probably won't be for a little bit because I'm not going to do 2 streams a week, even though that's what I did. But I just did it for a reason, like I said. And hopefully, the next time I'm speaking to you, I won't sound like I'm about to cry or that my voice is going to keep cracking because I've been screaming for 3 hours, and that my hoarse voice is rested more than it was. Either way, hopefully things change. My point is the next time you hear me. But either way, I do appreciate everybody who stopped in and hung out, whether it be for a minute or a second. And I'm not going to repeat myself again, but I will say thank you, everyone, for 282 subs on YouTube as we move another step closer to the road to 300 and our next big milestone. With that being said, I do appreciate it once again, and I will see you all.